Namaskar and a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this session on the theme Electronics Hardware Repair Services Outsourcing, ERSO. Electronics Repair Services Outsourcing has remained an understated segment of the electronics segment all along. ERSO segment has gained credence on account of India's superior engineering skills and competitive cost structure. The capability of the segment to be a job creator in the industry is significant. India's rise as an electronics power is anticipated to create opportunities for global players to take advantage of the ERSO model. This segment faces its own challenges in reaching its optimal potential, handicapped by the absence of advocates with the government. In order to highlight the immense growth opportunities and seek government assistance, a battery of industry captains, along with key government officials, will come together to discuss the dynamics of this segment. An extremely warm welcome to our chief guest of the evening, Shri Saurav Garg, Joint Secretary MAIT, who's not here right with us at the moment, but he might join us later. I welcome our distinguished speakers. We have with us Shri Nitin Kunkolenkar, President MAIT, Mr. Sudipto Ghosh, Chair MAIT ERSO Subgroup and Senior Advisor Asia Pacific Services Lenovo, and Mr. Srinivas Kotni, Founder and Managing Partner from Lexport. With these words, as we commence the session, I would firstly like to invite Mr. Nitin Kunkolenkar, President MAIT, requesting him to kindly make the opening.
So thank you, and it's my proud privilege to welcome you all to this panel discussion on electronic repair service outsourcing and opportunities that we look forward as country and a business. First of all, I must compliment my friend Sudipto for being a very strong support to MAIT in pushing this agenda forward. When we started discussing this couple of years back, probably he was the first person who really boosted my confidence and said, yes, there is a potential and we should work on this. And since then, he has been a very constant support. I must also express my gratitude to Mr. Kotni from Lexport for, as we were moving ahead with this and we were not very clear what all needs to be done, how a good documentation has to be created, the legal aspect needs to be examined. Though we had created some loose points, it was Mr. Kotni who came to the rescue of MAIT. And today, if at all we are able to put a solid document in front of government, it's due to the credit of Lexport, and I am grateful to them. So these are the two people who really they are the enablers of this initiative. Why do we feel that there is a prospect? Today, you look at the entire business. Either it is getting converged, electronics is getting converged, or electronics is getting into aggregation mode or integration mode. Convergence, we all have been discussing enough, but look at aggregation. The Uber today is aggregation, Oyo is aggregation. You look at Swiggy, it's an aggregation model. There are Amazon, everything is nothing but an aggregation model. Why not an aggregation in the repair services? And I'm just trying to put a loud thinking. India can also come out with 2 to 3 unicorn immediately in a couple of years in this segment. That's the potential of this line. Today, washing machines to air conditioners to automobiles, besides our regular IT hardware, which we talk about, entertainment, consumer durable products, gaming industry, everything is getting into electronics and it's getting spread at a very high rate. India has a potential to become world's repair hub. We have estimated a potential of around $20 billion, which I'm sure Sudipto will throw light and you all would discuss this in your deliberations. There is a potential to create minimum 5 million jobs. Indians, traditionally, we are like very savvy about repairing the products and use it. The longevity of an electronic product is much higher in India as compared to rest of the world, because we just don't scrap it, we would use it. So we feel we have built up tremendous skills in this process. Further, looking at the Indian mindset and Indian engineering excellence, we have a potential to develop more and more skills, innovate more skills, improve the product longevity, reduce the e-waste for the world, not only for India but also to the world, by improving longevity of products. May it be a scanning machine, X-ray machine, medical electronics devices, to IT automobiles, to everything can be salvaged. And I think this is where our new models are to be worked out. And here MAIT came out with a proposal 2 years back. This needs to be strengthened. We were really waiting Mr. Saurabh Gaur. He has promised us to join during the course of this deliberation. He's stuck somewhere in an urgent meeting. We had also submitted our papers to them. So we need to work on a model which will involve logistics, which will involve customs related processes, which will involve e-waste related processes and support from environment ministry. So we need to work over it very carefully. You all are experts in this line. The entire objective of this panel discussion is to learn from you all and come out with a very strong paper of recommending to the government how do we take these things forward and how do we create a new business model for the country. We started with software boom, then we are getting into hardware manufacturing. Now the third best opportunity that would create boom in this country would be electronic repair services. And I think this is where I will leave it to you all to deliberate on this topic, help MAIT to come out with another strong recommendations which will really help this country to emerge as one of the leaders in this world. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Mr.
Go ahead, I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Kunkolan. Thank you so much for the opening remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to now invite Mr. Sudipto Ghosh, Chairman, ERSO Group Subgroup and Senior Advisor Asia Pacific Services from Lenovo, to share the market perspective. And this is going to be followed by the presentation of the knowledge paper by Mr. Srinivas Kotri. Over to you.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Nitin, for a very kind and effusive introduction and your support as well. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another session on electronic repair service outsourcing. This repair outsourcing is, can you go to the next page, please? So let me explain in simple words what is our proposal on electronics repair service outsourcing. It means we get the defective electronic parts out from outside India, we import it to India, the defective parts, we repair and we return it back. So this is the entire proposal stuff. So India has been very good for repairs, domestic repairs. It has been so far India for India. We are now looking for India for the world. Now there are twin advantages. Please go to the next page. Yes. So there are twin advantages of this ERSO, and you'll hear this term quite frequently now, electronic repair service outsourcing. First is that there is an economic growth, and second is also there is an employment opportunity. So we have done an estimate, we have market study, lot of detailing has gone into this, and we say that by the 4 years from now, which is by the year 2025, this entire project has an opportunity to generate 5 million direct job opportunities. And I'll just give you an example of what is a direct and what is indirect. The typically a shirt which we wear, and the shirt maybe cost around, say average, say 2,000 Indian rupees. But there are 1,200 supply chain and some value add by someone or another, starting from cotton to yarn to thread to buttons to collar to packing to reseller. So there are so many people in the ecosystem. So this 5 million job which we have seen, will somehow generate indirect employment apart from the wages, indirect employment of double of that. So which means 10 million of indirect for the support functions. Currently, all of us know that we are facing a lot of problem because of the current pandemic situation. People have lost some of the people have lost the job. Some of the people have been laid off. So this is going to be a very, very good opportunity in the market for as far as the opportunity is concerned. Can you go to the next page, please? We also did the market size, and we now realize that there is a potential of 20 billion US dollars in next 4 years from now, which is by the year 2025. And this 20 billion dollar is the export revenue. So which means that the country India has a potential by this initiative to generate 20 billion forex. And if I see the current forex, this 20 billion will account to around 3% of India's forex reserve. And also if I see the GDP, then it will contribute to 15 billion US dollars as a GDP. So there are very interesting three data points. The first is 5 million job opportunities, direct job opportunities in 4 years from now. 15 billion addition to Indian GDP and 20 billion business, which is 20 billion forex earned, which is around 3% of forex reserve as of now. Now, why we will be successful and what are the key drivers here for investments? So first of the driver is the demand. We have done some market size and we see all over the world there is a huge demand for this repair, because in absence of repair, people are normally doing a replacement. And there are countries where labor cost is very expensive, the US, the Europe, the Australia, New Zealand, Japan, where the cost of labor is so high that the first option which comes to them is to replace rather than repair. Though repair is a very, very good option. So we have a huge demand there. We will be needing, the second one is we will be needing the support from government. Government over the years have been very, very supportive, but still there are quite a few challenges which are to be met. And if those challenges are met, I'm sure this will be an extremely good business initiative. The third is about the technology. Of late, I have been talking to a lot of people in the corporate. I have been talking to my friends, colleagues here, and industry veterans. And I understand everyone is very, very keen to invest in technology. That is not a problem. People know about this business. Only thing is that some of the challenge which is there, in case those challenges, particularly with the help and support of government, if those can be mitigated, then it will be a hassle-free investments or in technology. Last but not the least is the skilled manpower. And that is in abundance in India. And there are quite a few components of that. First is the capability on repairs. Now, if you see the capability of repair is not new for India. There are three guiding principles on the repair. One is what is the yield, which means that in case we are giving 100, say, planner, which we call motherboard, how much of them we are able to repair. Now, India, overall, we have been able to repair 93, which means our yield rate is 93%. So that is fine. I have given you some boards, how much you repair. The second may be that, okay, you are able to repair, but what is the quality of repair? Is it that once you repair and then the defective comes back, which is known as a repeat rate? So in India, the current average which is there is around only 2%, which means only 2% goes back as a repeat rate. And third is, okay, you have a good capability, your yield rate is very high, your repeat repair is low, but then how much time do you take to repair? So which is known as a turnaround time. And on an average, we have seen that we have been able to turn around in 5 days. So these three parameters are very, very competitive. And I would say that these are above the world average. Second is on the labor force. India labor force is not expensive. It is quite competitive. Another advantage is that we are English speaking. And third is that we have been knowing how to do reverse engineering. So those are the things which happens. And one more thing is there, which is constraint management. Typically, as a psyche of India, is that we are very good in constraint management, because yes, crisis will be there, uncertainties will be there, but as a India people, they normally don't give up, and we have been able to manage lots of constraints. And why I'm telling you, because these type of things are also the skills which is required for repair. And finally, it is the repair mindset. In India, we have a very strong mindset for repair. We are the last person for any household goods or any equipments to go for a replacement. First and foremost, we'll try that, okay, can we do the repair? So this mindset really helps. And actually, in all relationships of India, also Indians, typically we want to repair. So those things are there. There is a strong collaboration which is required between government and industry. And this will certainly be, to my feeling, this is going to be a very strong sunrise industry. India today is known for software development. We are known for our BPO. But this industry, if it takes up, India will again be known for our repair. Today, China globally is known as a global manufacturing hub. And I have a feeling that in case this ERSO works well, India has the potential to become a global repair hub. So thank you very much. And I now pass it on to my friend and colleague, Mr. Srinivas Kotni. He will take the further. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Before Srinivaji, just one second. Before that, let me also welcome Shri Ved Prakash Mishra from Ministry of Environment and Forest, who is the director at Ministry of Environment Forest. Welcome to this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to you all, and it has been a very pleasant journey with MAIT, working on the knowledge paper for ERSO. So it's been a quite a moderately longer journey, but during the journey we have picked up a lot of information, statutory, regulatory, and also the market commercial information. And we sincerely hope from Lexport that we have been able to put together a report which is a good starting point for us to put forward to the various stakeholders, including the Government of India, for making India a leader, world leader in the repair domain. So what we have done is, though the entire report would be released in some time to come today, but we have summarized the wish list, what we need to do in order to be able to capture the international market based on the skill sets which we inherently have, which Mr. Ghosh very vividly described. So if we talk about these wish lists, the first and the foremost which comes to our mind is the policy incentives. So for any sunrise sector, government policy is extremely important, government support. So therefore, in our wish list, we are praying that ERSO scheme should be introduced into the foreign trade policy as a chapter. Because until it is brought to sharp focus, it may not get the outreach which it deserves. It should be seen as an export promotion scheme, because India, with its manpower and also the repair mindset, as has been discussed for a long period of time, can make a huge difference in the international market. So what it do is it will provide a level playing field to the repair industry which wants to fly with its wings. And the Government of India can really help in this policy support to make India globally competitive in this arena. This apart, the second wish which we have is introduction of what is called a green channel facility. Today, repairs do happen in India, and there are bottlenecks also. We have seen many players coming into the domain and also vanishing. Why have they vanished? It is not the ability or lack of engineers and the skilled manpower. It has been the delays in the export procedures and import procedures, and also various documentary and bottlenecks which have been there. So, though of course all those things are there for a particular purpose, but then definitely when the international market is looking at a turnaround time and we are not able to adhere to the turnaround time, then there is always a dip in the business. So if we want to see greener pastures, green channel facility is extremely important. Of course, there can be checks and balances, but those checks and balances need to be very, very carefully introduced so that it doesn't affect the logistics movement of the goods into India and outside India. This will help the companies perform and eliminate time lags in import and export clearances. The other aspect is time-based immunity. So it is also complementary to green channel facility. Everything should be very clearly defined as to what is going to be the time lag and delay from the port to the repair facility. What will be the timeline for repairing activity allowed for different kinds of products, and then again back repairs. I mean, after repairs, exporting. And also, if some items are unrepairable, how to deal with them. What are the environmental issues around it? So it needs to take into mind that time is very, very essential. Time is the essence here, and to reduce TAT so that Indian repair units can tap the overseas market and outrun global market players. Now, we in India are aware of self-removal procedures, self-regulation regime. There were times when the excise and customs officers were sitting in the factory gates. Those were maybe about half a century back. Today, there is a lot of importance given to the self-regulation and self-certification of the industry. It's a matter of trust, because this self-regulation regime, if introduced, it can avoid undesirable logistic delays. So therefore, we can have a competitive advantage over other countries working in the same sphere. So therefore, self-regulation regime or self-removal procedures are essential for if ERSO has to become successful. The other aspect which I would want to touch upon as a wish list, part of wish list, is absence of one-to-one correlation. What happens is that whether it is drawback or whether it is repairs and re-exports, there's always that question of what has come in is going out or not. But if the items being in hand are in millions or multiple, one-to-one correlation sometimes becomes extremely difficult. And every item may not have a chassis number or a machine number or a part number. So therefore, if some kind of a satisfaction is there of the regulatory departments, we think that one-to-one correlation for export of the equipment which were earlier imported into India for repair purposes should be avoided. Because this correlation not only increases logistic costs, it also increases turnaround time and erodes the competitive advantage of repair vendors in India. Because we need to be at a comparable level to the global players. So therefore, what is their turnaround time? Why is the turnaround time being achieved? Why can't we improve on that? So this aspect needs a very, very, very careful focus. Then apart from this, we also need regulatory incentives. If we are talking in terms of repair being a sunrise sector, there need to be incentives. If there is too much of licensing involved, so it involves a lot of time from the DGFT also, as also the administrative ministry. So to avoid that, for repair industry, all these regulatory bottlenecks can be weeded out if they're already there. If not there, there should be no attempt to put them in the near future. The other aspect is unrepairable items need to be destroyed within the country. If that kind of allowance, some percentage, some scientific method can be employed and determined, but that has to become the part of the regulatory environment. If some items have come, maybe 5% or 6% may be allowed to be destroyed within the country, being unrepairable, because every item which lands in on the Indian shores may not be repairable. So what is required is to avoid procuring various approvals from different authorities within India, which will also make the industry competitive. Then we also would request for financial incentives. So what are these financial incentives? We can have customs duty exemptions. duty-free scripts. Like we already have these things. This is not something new which is there. But since it is going to be a sunrise industry, a focus industry, which is generating huge employment potential, huge revenue potential, etc., also stamp duty exemptions and tax holidays and exemptions also should be provided, like in the case of any other sector on which government focuses. So this is also important to attract global customers to India for their repair needs. So another important ask is GST exemption. We know that every supply which is done, it attracts GST. Now these repair centers can work for global customers also and domestic customers also. But in case if we want to make it a industry which is generating so much of employment and revenue for the government, so there has to be some kind of an exemption. The threshold 18% rate may not work out, and it may not flag off the industry the way we are perceiving. So the GST regime also should allow procurement of inputs and spares from within India and outside India also. So therefore, those imports which are meant for export purposes need not be saddled with taxes, because the principle is very, very clear. We need to export goods and services out of India and not taxes. So this is all important for economies of scale and for economic pricing and for making India very, very competitive in the international market. That apart, when large and small and medium players would definitely like to look at repair industry as an industry where they want to enter. So what is an industry needing in at the beginning? What it needs is investment and land bank, because there need to be a lot of utilities which need to be made available at decent rates, like electricity, water. Though repair is not as capital intensive and as utility intensive as manufacturing, but there will be some minimal amount of support needed, and that has to be looked at. All those incentives have to be put in place to encourage new repair units being set up in India. These can be captive and otherwise also, because most of the industries which are manufacturing in India can have captive repair centers. So these kinds of support should come for both. This will help private companies which are investing into this sector escaping from challenge of heavy capex in infrastructure, land, technology and equipment cost, etc. Some kind of support would definitely go a long way in making this industry more successful, and the initiative itself becoming a kind of a brand or a flagship for India. The other thing is repair-linked incentives. Incentives based on the number of repairs undertaken for domestic as well as overseas customers. So if some kind of an incentive scheme is put, that will encourage the industry to do the work more sincerely and to also work in a manner where the global players are attracted to choose India as their destination, which is a favorite destination for repairs, and to set up their repair facilities. These are some of the recommendations which we had as a part of the report. In the report, we have spoken extensively about the current bottlenecks. We've also analyzed the current schemes like SEZ scheme and other schemes, whether this repair activity can be conducted there, and why we are canvassing for a separate chapter in the foreign trade policy. Thank you so much. I hope that this wish list becomes a true and successful wish list from all the stakeholders. So let us look forward for an ERSO which is successfully implemented in India. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Ghosh and Mr. Kotli, for your presentation. We now have the launch of the MAIT report on enabling ERSO prepared by Lexport. So I would like to request our dignitaries to kindly join in launching the report. Can we have the virtual launch, please?
Good fish developer.
Thank you very much for the launch. I'm told Mr. Garg is just about to join us.
If you're looking for me, I'm there. This is Saurabh Gaur, Joint Secretary from the Ministry of Electronics.
Good evening. A very warm welcome to you, sir. You're just in time for your address. Very warm welcome once again. May I please request you to kindly give your keynote address. Thank you.
Saurabhji, welcome and thank you for making it in spite of your busy schedule and commitments.
No, thank you so much, Nitin.
Yeah, Nitin, yeah.
MAIT team also for giving me a opportunity to be a part of this event. I was actually in the other Audi and I was listening to the very interesting conversation there till the time I was reminded that I need to be in the Audi 2 and not in Audi 1. But I must compliment MAIT for organizing this fantastic conference. I was quite glued to the discussion that was happening in that Audi, but more on that later. I first of all would wish all of you good health in these extremely difficult and challenging circumstances. We in Ministry of Electronics and IT are forced to work from home because there have been some really unfortunate happenings in terms of the number of people who've been testing positive at in our offices. But having said that, I think it's great that MAIT, even at these times also, has been able to bring together more than 90 industry champions and OEMs, as well as representatives from government to deliberate on different aspects. There was this inaugural which talked about the overall ESDM ecosystem. I was hearing the discussion that was happening around the hardware systems, the design part of it, the R&D aspects, the IP generation, and then on this electronic repair services, which I believe is a very timely topic also. There's something which is of great interest to me, and I think it is of great economic value to the nation also. The sense that it represents an economic opportunity of the order of almost 20 billion US dollars in next few years. It also has the potential to provide jobs to almost 50 lakh people, either by itself or through the supported services in terms of electronic repair, recycling, and other ancillary services. I particularly believe we have a natural strength in this. We have this labor arbitrage that we can ride upon. We can also be naturally we are inclined to look at how can we repair stuff and how can we do some jugaad element in this, but not just jugaad, but doing it in a more organized manner and contributing to the economy. It is something which is not very easy. There are obviously some regulations around it. We need to overcome them. There is also a lot of work to be done in terms of skilling, as well as by industry also to be able to formulate it better, so that we can make this segment as a part of our electronic manufacturing ecosystem also. And when I talk about manufacturing, we talk about the right to repair, the right to reuse also, something which is not presently there, but essentially from the consumer perspective, bringing more value to the ecosystem. And I believe we have opportunities in terms of our electronic manufacturing clusters. We had 20 of them being established as part of our earlier scheme across the country. We are going to have another 18 to 20 new clusters getting established over next 4 years. And I believe all of these, there can be dedicated or earmarked spaces for electronic repairs centers or clusters to be made as part of these electronic manufacturing clusters. We'll also be, apart from taking policy actions ourselves, we'll be nudging the state governments also to take appropriate actions and be able to incentivize this segment that should open up. I very much look forward to the recommendations of the committee of this gathering today, and I wish very engaged deliberations so that we can come out with very specific policy actions. And I am all for hearing from all of you guys, understanding the recommendations that you have and converting them into specific policy actions that we can take forward from the Ministry of Electronics and IT. I'll be delighted to work with the industry in this regard to essentially make India as much a hub for electronic services repair as we aim it to become a hub for electronic manufacturing. In terms of number of initiatives that we've been doing, whether through PLIs, we started with electronics, but there are other sectors and associated sectors like telecom, automotive, energy storage that has picked on that. All of them, I believe, there'll be opportunities for electronic services repair also in automotive and so on and so forth. So we'll be happy to structure schemes and interventions to support this particular segment of activity. I'll stop here and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Shri Saurav Garg, for your noteworthy address. We are so glad that you could join us. Thank you once again. Ladies and gentlemen, we now have the panel discussion, which will be moderated by Mr. Sudipto Ghosh, Chair, MAIT ERSO Subgroup and Senior Advisor, Asia Pacific Services, Lenovo. A very warm welcome to our panelists for this session. We have with us Dr. Ved Prakash Mishra, Director of the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change, Mr. Galen Gao, Director, SSC Global Repair and Quality and Parts Engineering from the Lenovo headquarters, Mr. Nikhil Rao, Director, Program Management, Flex Global Services India, Mr. Manoj Kapoor, VP and Head Service Assurance, APAC Nokia, Mr. MS Swayambhu, Chief Repair Officer from TVSC, Mr. Badrinath Korti, Business Director, R-Logic, Mr. Raghvendra Swarup, Manager Service, Logistics and Operations, India and SAARC, Cisco. Very warm welcome to all of you. I would like to now hand over the floor to our session moderator. Over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Pani. And I'm very privileged that we have very strong panel members with their wealth of knowledge and experience. And I also feel that this panel consists of a very good group. The group is, there is an IT companies like Lenovo, Cisco, and then there are repair factory people who run repair factory like Flex, like R-Logic, TVS Electronics, and also we have Nokia here. So that way, and I'm extremely privileged. I'm extremely privileged to have representation by a very senior government official, Dr. Ved Prakash Mishra. And thank you, sir, for joining this panel discussion. So before I start the panel discussion, one thing for the delegates is that I will go around the panelists. I'll ask some of the questions. And in case from the delegates, in case you have any question, please feel free to post your query in the Q&A box. And you may also like to mention that whom this question is being addressed. We will like to address the questions live during this panel discussion. But in the case that we don't have time for it, then possibly MAIT Secretariat will come back to you later on. So let's start. I will first go to Galen Gao. He's joined the call from Beijing, and he's the person. Actually, he's the person. His responsibility is to offer business to prospect. So I will have a couple of questions to you, Galen, but maybe I will put two at a time. The first is that, Galen, what factor do you consider while evaluating for awarding a repair business? And the second question is that what is the ideal lead time according to you for repairing a set of consignments from end to end? Over to you, Galen.
Okay, can you hear me clearly?
No, not very much. A little bit cracky.
It's better now?
Please continue, yes.
Okay, regarding your first question, I think we can consider from two perspectives. One perspective, we focus on the vendor point of view. For the vendor, should be much more competitive. The competitive including the good cost, including the repair turnaround time, including repair year rate. It's very important. The other things, as Studio mentioned, the parts quality is also a very important factor. We consider the vendor capability. Like Leo, currently we measure the parts quality is repeat repair within 120 days. I think this is one perspective. The other perspective I think very important is the local political economic environment should be stable. Also, we hope from a government point of view, they have given much more support to this kind of business to grow so big. As India, they have greater potential. As you mentioned, the ideal lead time for, if only focus from repair point of view, 5 days is the ideal lead time. In current Laleo, we break down the paths, we call it P1 pass, priority 1 pass. We want the repair vendor can repair in 5 days. For long P1 pass, so means the requirement is not too urgent. It's normally 10 basic days. This is our requirement to our repair vendors. That's all for me.
Okay, Galin, thanks. And I feel that if I see the current KPIs, we are almost there. I will not let you go. I have some more questions for you.
Okay.
So, thanks. My next question is for Lenovo. In India also, the repairs are being carried out, not for an export, for the local Indian market. Now, what is your views on the repair quality and capability? And is the Lenovo India meeting your expectation?
Currently, we have major two repair vendor in India do the repair for Lenovo PC products. Their repair capability is good. Our strategy, we still want to have one partner can repair PC product, can repair mobile product, also repair our server product. This is our strategy. So it's really require the vendor have the capability on PC, mobile, and the server product.
Thanks, Galin. So got it. So you want a single point of contact for all the repairs for telecom and for PC product mobiles. Thanks.
Yes.
My next question to you, Galin, is that did you ever use India for repair needs from outside India? Presenting so many years.
Yes, in last year we do some pilot run from US. The parts were shipped to India and do the repair and ship back to US. We try to do these things to support some requirement. This kind of the repair is completely, but it take a little long time. In the future, we think we can consider how to narrow down the end-to-end time. Is if we can narrow down the end-to-end time, it should be better. We can allocate more parts to India to do the repair.
So if I get you correctly, Galin, you say that you had once had a consignment from US being repaired in India.
Yeah,
and
right.
The turnaround time of the actual repair was okay, but overall turnaround time because of inbound and outbound, it was little higher.
Yeah, right.
Okay, thanks. So we'll work on that, and I think that is one of the very key initiative which the panel will be going to discuss. My last question to you is that will ever Lenovo be interested to set up a repair hub of its own, and if so, what is the support you'll look for?
Absolutely. For India is have a great potential, including the labor force, including India still, I think you have a very good capability to do the parts repair. For Laleo, I think very important is from the government policy to support the repair business growth. in India. It's very important for us. If for some specific as mentioned, we have consignment one batch of parts repair shipped from US repair in India. The inbound, outbound from India, I think it should be much more easily and quickly. It's better for us.
So thank you, Galen. We got the point very clear, loud and clear, and we are happy that you will be able to consider India also, provided some of the timing on the inbound and outbound is taken care of. Thanks a lot, Galen.
Thank you.
Please stay here. My next question is to Mr. Badrinath Kotri. He is the business director of R Logic. Hi, Badri. You're able to
Good evening, sir. Good evening.
I would like to know from you, what are the issues being currently faced in import and export processes which makes custom clearance lengthier? Let me pose the second question also. What are the challenges associated with restrictive import requirement which you need to be overcome? Over to you, Badri.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good evening, gentlemen. Actually, the first question is the extension of what Galen has been talking about all this while from Lenovo. We have in India, as you know, that either we have a special license to import products for repair and then send it back, or then we have the bank guarantee stuff where we take a bank guarantee and then get the products inside the country for repair and send it back. Getting a special license, it's a Herculean task. It's a very lengthy process, and it has a lot of questions and answers that we need to give to the government of India, respective department, which is legitimate. However, there is a restriction also. In terms of special license, you can't have a blanket restriction. I mean, a certification to import tons of materials and do whatever you want. That is not happening. That doesn't happen. I understand that. But while we apply for the special license, we have to go through a lot of the consideration from the customer point of view, from the country point of view, from the regulation point of view. All these things has to be taken care of, and then a license has to be given. In fact, Mr. Sudipto, I think we have been having a lot of interactions on this particular point, and one point that I have been stressing very, very far is, let's have a charter. Let's have a charter that what are do's and don'ts for doing this business. Okay, for example, I would like to take Singapore. Okay, there is a clear-cut charter. There is a very less human intervention in terms of customs and things like that, and people are able to import and export without much of an issue. I understand that's a small country, and but then it has the potential of creating huge problem as well. But as far as India is concerned, we have a lot of other things to take into consideration. So my request to Mr. Saurabh Gaur will be that if we can have a task force which can sit and make a charter of do's and don'ts to ease out this business, like Galen is saying, he's happy with the repair quality, he's happy with the repair turnaround time, but the overall the time it takes for the entire process, it's huge. So if we can have a charter, you can have industry people, and we understand. All these people who are sitting here in the delegates are all respected companies. We don't do anything against the law of the land, and we would definitely like to have a beautiful charter where the customs have very less intervention. At the same time, there has to be a severe penalty as well. That, for example, if any particular company or a business house goes wrong, they should be severely punished to the extent of revoking the license itself. We are okay with that. But what happens? There are hardly any people of such quality, because we all are interested in investing money and bringing business to India. So we would like to have a very ease of business and serve our customers, like Galen sitting in Beijing, and he is ready to give us a lot of business. But then we have to give that kind of environment. So license is one thing, and I think if that is taken care, if the process is taken care at the customs, Mr. Ghosh, to answer your question, I think we are done and dusted. There is no question on the repair quality. There is no question on the when you talk about the do's and don'ts, you also know that what all things need to be covered when we are importing the product and what all things need to be covered when we are exporting the product, right? And we are answerable to the government of India. So considering all that, this is my answer number one. I hope if anybody has any question, they can ask me. And to answer your next question on the restrictive imports, again, there are actually in the IT. I'm from the IT, so I would like to talk about IT. There are not much restriction except for the batteries. When we talk about batteries, yeah, there are certain restrictions, and I rightfully so. We have to look at the other products, for example, telecom and medical equipments, where my friends are also doing a lot of repairs on this within the country. These are the products that we have to look minutely and again include that into a charter. What are permissible, what are not permissible, if permissible, under what conditions, and all that, so that Mr. Gaur, actually, my point is that if we have a charter available on the domain, even our customers like Gelin, who is sitting in Beijing, can go through that charter, and he knows that if I ship a product today here, in how many days, hours, and minutes this will be passed, this will be cleared clearing the customs. From that way he can fix up the CAT and help us to serve him. So it's that is the wish list that even I would like to include in the wish list of Nitin, Srinivas that he had presented. So restricted products as of now in IT, I don't have much of an issue, but I'm sure my friends in the medical and in the telecom division probably may have something. But these are the two questions. I hope I have answered you, Mr. Ghosh.
Thank you. Thanks, Badri. And your point and suggestion on charter was for sure a very interesting one. We'll take it from here. Thanks, Badri.
Thank you very much.
Let me now move over to Nikhil. Nikhil from Flex. Nikhil, I also have two questions for you. The first is that what are the list of licenses and approvals required for undertaking entire repair work, both on domestic and on international level? Let me also tell the second question. The second question is how much time is generally spent in importing and re-exporting the repaired parts? This may be a repeat, but I would like to have your perspective as well. Nikhil.
Thank you, Mr. Sudipto. Thank you for those questions. I would like to actually agree with the distinguished guests and the honorable panelists and my dear colleagues and everybody who's actually joined the summit online. Wish this could have been in person, but with COVID, we need to actually learn to adapt. So we are doing it online, and we'll try and make best use of it. To begin with, let me actually quickly, do an introduction about my company and what we do. Flex is a manufacturing and a services partner of choice. We are located across about 30 countries across the world. We are into design, build, ship, and service. What we call ourselves is an integrated model, an end-to-end model. In India, we have manufacturing sites in Chennai as well as in Sri City. We have a large repair hub, an international repair hub in Bangalore. And we have other support services, what we're giving out of Chennai and Pune, back-end support services for our worldwide sites. Now, speaking about international repairs, we as Flex have been promoting this for a pretty long time, very long time, I would say. And we have been successful in terms of actually setting up India as a repair hub for large OEMs, very successful. As we speak, we're also expanding. We have a new site coming up in Bangalore for international repairs, a bonded warehouse setup. But then, we also see that there are various other factors which need to be considered. Now, speaking about licenses, we have 2 or 3 licenses which are very, very important in order to actually operate as an international repair or a domestic repair hub. One is a very simple factory license, but then after that, we also need to have a bonded warehouse. And for that bonded warehouse, we need to apply for a license. There is a lead time to apply for a license, and there are a few complexities as well which are involved with it. Last but not the least is if we are actually trying to repair dual-use products which are restricted, then we need to actually apply for ESCOMET licenses. These are the 3 main licenses what we speak about. But having said that, in terms of bonded warehouse, there is a lot of paperwork involved. And post the bonded warehouse, even operating that bonded warehouse as well, there are quite a few complexities which are involved, time and money involved in terms of managing those paperwork, especially when we are filing for the shipping invoices, the bill of entries, quite there and quite complex, and that actually leads to, I would say, longer lead times. Last but not the least is the ESCOMET license. Again, that is another license which has come across because of the Wassenaar agreement, what India has signed across the world. There is, again, some uncertainties in terms of these licenses and the lead time, what it takes to actually get these licenses. And these are actually posing challenges for us. Posing challenges in terms of restricting us from, I would say, competing with other countries, like say in Europe or in Asia, where these licenses can be obtained very fast, or the paperwork which is involved for clearances is much more fast. So that's where we have, I would say, a challenge. I wouldn't say a disadvantage, but we have a challenge convincing, I would say OEM, say like, for example, Lenovo and others, to actually, bring business into India and consider us as an international repair hub. Having said that, I will go to your next question, which is the lead time. Right now, it is taking about 4 to 5 days after the material or the defectives arrive at the port to actually clear into the hub. And post the repair, it takes another 4 to 5 days to clear it from the hub back into another country. So all in all, about 8 to 10 days is for importing and exporting these defectives out. And that is a pretty long lead time, because if we compare ourselves with a country like Europe or with a country like Singapore or Malaysia, they have a green channel. It's cleared within hours, not in days. So that's where, I would say the challenge comes. And that's where, we are actually coming together to find a solution and put India across as a very, very competitive location for us to drive international repairs. Now I rest my case, and I would see if anybody else has any questions back into me on this topic.
No, thanks, Nikhil. I think let me go around the other panelists, and in case time permits, we'll do that. But thanks for your perspective, international perspective, and what you told is from days we have to come to hours. Very nice suggestion. Thanks a lot. Let me now go over to Swambhu. Swambhu is from TVS Electronics. Swambhu, I have 2 questions for you. The first is that what ecosystems needs to be created for a success of ERSO? Okay. If you can respond to that. Thanks.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. So who has joined in this panel and also joined virtually in this meet. So I'm very proud to be part of this ETMS Summit 2021, where it is working with the vision of making India as an electronics repair hub for the world. And so we will be discussing that in this panel. I represent TVS Electronics, a 35 years old company, which has been serving the electronics repair segment from level 1 to level 4 in terms of the depth of repair. And also we have presence in pan-India. And so we support broad product categories, starting from ICT or consumer electronics or consumer durable, any product, any electronic product, which you name it, we are there in the after sales service segment. And apart from that, we also into the product manufacturing. We manufacture IT products and IT accessories. We have a manufacturing unit at Uttarakhand, and this a back-end repair unit, which has been located we do it at Tumkur, which is 70 kilometers away from the Bangalore, the main city. Right. Now, sir, I'll come to your question. So what kind of ecosystem which has been really needed to make the electronics repair service outsourcing as a great success in India? I could see the success of repair in India is based on the sustainability, and the sustainability which comes from the scale of repair what we do. Though currently we have been focusing to get products from abroad to get it repaired and send it back. That is one. And I look at even the domestic market also to be served in a large scale. In the sense, there are a lot of electronics manufacturers. They set up their shops in India now, which is the great traction of Make in India. And by considering that, by the manufacturing facilities, even they themselves, they have requirement for the repair services for the production failures. So we need to create this repair hubs around these places, like where these electronics manufacturing setups are there, or if we need to serve automotive electronics or auto electronics, then we have to have the auto electronics repair setups or park should be around those places or those clusters. So we need to have a very clear ecosystem which has the manufacturers, and in the same vicinity of manufacturer, we need to have the repair parks, which can be the product segment wise, it can be set up. And also there should be a component supplier around. Today, most of the components, we import and use it. But in the last, even yesterday, we were discussing about the main success we can enjoy once we have the component manufacturing also happens here. If that is the case, then I'm sure the component suppliers of each product, they will be around the manufacturing facilities. So when the repair also joins along with it, it is going to reduce the lead time much shorter. So that is what we are talking about from the beginning in this panel discussion. So that is one. And the skilling also, it cannot be separate. It cannot be. It cannot work in isolated form. Even that has to be put in the vicinity of the repair hubs and the manufacturing facilities are around, so that immediately it can cater to the current needs of these facilities. That is one. And the logistics partners and the government officials whom we deal with on the day-to-day activities or import and export activities, even they can be around these facilities. That is one. So this is more on the infra. So the infra has to be in and around the manufacturing facilities, so that we can easily get the components which can be used, because already there is a channel which has been set up to get the components for manufacturing. And we can also try to leverage those or partially those systems to get components for repairs. That is one. The other one, how I look at is a very strong branding which has been needed at the global level. And that branding can happen maybe from the government side, how this has been promoted, like Make in India, which has been promoted well and got a very strong traction of foreign investments. The similar way, even Repair in India also has to be promoted by the government. That is one. That is from the government side, that support is needed. And the other side, as the electronics repair service providers, we all can come together and form a consortium to represent the electronics repair capabilities in the trade fairs, the global trade fairs, or maybe the product expos, which happens annually. So all those main events, we can represent our capabilities. So that is another way we will reach out to our customers whom we are aiming at. So these two aspects, so infra and the promotion activities, it has to bring in the business, and the infra, it will really serve to the business which has been really demanding the service from us. Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Swayambhu. My next question, though you preempted possibly and made something there, though let me ask in case you want to add something more on that, is that do you find component availability a challenge for repair activity? Because a lot of dependence is on components. And if you find it as a challenge, do you have any suggestions? And also request to be little sensitive on time. I think we are not doing very good on the time. So
sure. Thank you so much, because this is something, a question which is very much related to our business. We do face challenges in getting the components because in some cases when we work with the brands, so in few brands they themselves support on the components, few others they will ask us to procure and use it, which we will be charging back to them. So there are challenges around in identifying the right vendor and getting the right genuine parts. So this increase, so we could do that. Very much we could do that. We have been very successful on that front. One day it increases the lead time. in identification, getting components, testing it. So to avoid, I have a suggestion. Maybe today, like whichever the brand, they make their products on their own, or they make products from a contract manufacturing service provider. One thing what they can do is, while making their contract with their suppliers or the contract manufacturers, they can also ask them to extend the component support to the service providers. So in that way, when we work with the brands like any OEM, the contact has been already been shared. The supplier has been already been identified. So it is very easy to work with them and get the components. That is one part. And when we get component from the OEMs, the original manufacturer, so there is no need to test it or qualify it again. So, but it won't be the case when we get it from other sources, right? So, which is going to considerably shorten the lead time, and also the quality will be in par with the expectations. So that is one request which I want to make it to all the OEMs whoever wanted to have their repair get it done from in India. So that is the session input I have, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, Swayambhu. Very, very valid points, and you sharing your experience. Thanks. Let me now go over to Raghavendra Sarup from Cisco. Hi, Raghav.
Yeah, hello, sir.
Hello. I have again two questions for you. The first is that what is your views on potential repair activities in SEZ and FTZ?
Okay. Yeah, first of all, thanks, mate, for bringing me on this with such esteemed panelists, and taking a cue from each of the members and what has been shared so far. I think, and culminating out together, right? Meaning, I see use of SEZs or a free trade zone as a possible solution to all the challenges that we've kind of raised, right? Of course, we will have to look at other policies associated with it. Primarily, if we are looking at making the repair services outsourcing as a hub out here, and we're calling it "Come Make in Repair in India" rather, then we have to have a conducive environment for it. And by that I mean the ecosystem, which was touched upon by Mrs. Swayambhu as well. For all, not only just the repair organizations, but for all the ancillary units, right? And for it, it is necessary that who are as part of the chain, in my opinion, should be brought together and more of like a geographical hub, if I might say. And all of this can be kind of combined into what we call into the free trade zone, in and around the free trade zone, depending on what it really entails and what each organization is kind of specialized in. And the location for all these units obviously should kind of be able to provide the key benefits, right? Key benefits by whether it's duty exemption or what was touched upon earlier, duty exemptions, or being able to bring the defective IT products into with less lead time. Of course, not in days, probably in hours. I think that's definitely something that we would like to achieve. And also be in a position to kind of repair it out. And we all know that operating from a free trade zone or special economic zone does kind of help us to achieve these timelines in comparison to a DTA to an extent. And whilst we talk about easing out the overall policies, right, towards repair, but we also need to maintain the necessary controls. And from that perspective, I think operating from an SEZ or a free trade zone ensures or helps ensure that necessary controls from a customs point of view or from the regulatory point of view as well. So a combination of that and with the to help facilitate the associated turnaround times, I think SEZ is definitely, or free trade zones per se. I think we already have been reading a lot about how free trade zones have proved quite beneficial in the competitive economy that we have in the Asia region. And I think that is something that will definitely support us and go a long way in terms of facilitating the overall repair services outsourcing hub for us as well. Right? Yeah, that's my take on
Thanks, Raghav. My next question, though it is a repeat, but I'd like to go around the panelists to understand their perspective, is how much time, as per you, is being generally spent in importing and re-exporting the repaired goods?
Right. Yeah. In fact, I think we've definitely come a long way from what we were probably even 5 years back. The long lead times with a lot of policies and a lot of structures that were there, and definitely kudos to the government there for kind of helping out here. But yeah, we definitely have scope for improvement, and by that we are looking at what at least a 30-day turnaround time in terms of 15 days overall. And now with the addition of what Nikhil also kind of covered for specifically for dual use products with SCOMET, I think these lead times are getting extended more. And every product repair has their own lead times overall, right? And keeping that in mind, if that adds on to the overall logistics lead time, it generally the overall turnaround time and making us competitive in the market definitely takes a big hit. So that is where while SCOMET is a necessary thing to make us competitive with the other worlds, and having signed the Wassenaar agreement, yes, we cannot maybe not be able to eliminate it completely, but I think a suggestion towards the exports and reducing this time is in terms of having a general license, which is definitely a process available, and the general repair license available across EU and other economies that we currently have. And this will definitely help us to be much more competitive, and also keeping in mind the overall lead time, turnaround time, which has been a key factor for us of not being able to kind of make such progress as we could have otherwise. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Raghav. Thank you so much. And now let me move to other panelist, Manoj Kapoor. Manoj from Nokia, he has a very extensive experience both India, abroad, and multiple assignments he has handled. So Manoj, my question to you is that what will be the key success factor, not only for building the ERSO, but also growing ERSO?
I think, and thank you for giving me a chance to speak here, and my co-panelists already expressed the pain points, and I echo the things. I think you asked one of the question that how much is the lead time to do the repairs when we bring it from abroad and send it back. It's not dependent on technology at all, unfortunately. It is totally dependent on DGFT office, how long they will take to clear. And similarly, while you are importing, it will be decided by whether you have extended producer responsibility, you have MOEF license, and you will be surprised that we got MOEF license in over more than 1 year to get a MOEF license. So I think it is decided by the government that what will be the turnaround time. And what I hear the co-panelists, I think most of the technologies can be repaired within a week or so. So at the inbound, I think the custom clearances, everyone knows. So from 3 decades, we have been taking it up with customs and the other authorities and have simplifying. So it has simplified, but then the type of business we are talking. So we are talking of 2 businesses. One is repair business for domestic, and then second is to make repair hub in India for the overseas things, so which is as a service. So what China is to the world as a factory, India is to the world as services. So I had discussions with Sandeep Sanyal and others also on this topic, and I think we have to be cognizant of the fact that we have given a lot of support to the software industry, and it has grown to a 200 billion levels. And to the repair from 3 decades, we have not focused, but now the time has come. Since if you see whatever we import, what are the 3 major imports today India is doing? So India is doing gold, oil, and electronics. So when 1/3 of the imports is electronics, and the unless we do a cost-effective repair in India, if you have to grow that, we have to have the single window clearance for importing self-declaration. So everything has to be digitalized. So we give a declarations to customs as well as to the DGFT in the same mail with the CC this thing, rather than personally visiting each office and taking 5 weeks to 6 weeks to get a clearance from DGFT. And some of my friends from Flextronics and TVS have already echoed the pains because it takes 6 weeks to go to and get something from DGFT. Even personally, people at my level have to go lot wise. So we are international exporter of services. We do a lot of repairs for Orange in France. We do repairs for China Mobile for China also, and for Telstra in Australia and things like that. Now there are two types. One, if we have to compete amongst ourselves. Nokia operates in over 100 countries, so we have to compete amongst us also. So when I go to China, I have a repair center in Qingdao also. So when I go to Qingdao custom authorities, I get the clearances in one day. Like is our wishful thinking here? If it's bringing something to China and you explain and give the self-declarations, you get it. So I get much more support in those areas. So I am forced then to have a setup there because the technology advantage of 1 day plus minus SLA has no relevance in today's repairs. So most of the panelists will tend to agree with me that we repair within 3 days to 5 days depending upon the lot size. So technology has been simplified by automation in the testers. So it's no more Jogard. It's a very high level testers which we use in Shanghai or Qingdao or Bangalore or in Gurgaon. So those they are having automatic intelligence and they have become very sharp now, the testers. But the regulatory framework, and I don't agree with going into free trade zones and other things. Why? Because you can't duplicate the capex for a domestic zone and a free trade zone. So you should operate in a domestic zone with all the facilities given to you in a self-declaration mode, that if you have to export the services of repairs, then you do the self-declaration. These are the 4 things you have to do. While inputting, you should have an MOEF license and all. So we should be waived out of all these things because out of the 100 boards which we import, 95 we will repair and send it back, and 5 scrapping also. We don't want to get into complications. The 5 scraps also we send it back and we give them the swap replacement from our inventory stock. So we give back the total lots. So we have to simplify. The only blockage why the industry has not grown in manufacturing, first in electronic manufacturing, 3 decades back, it grew in Singapore, then Malaysia took it over because of better legislations and regulations, Taiwan took it over, then everything is gone back to China. Why? Because of the scale and the legislatory framework. So it's nothing. We have to grow business, simplify while importing, exporting, go into self-declaration mode in domestic zones itself, give the facilities to export. Your capex requirements will become half, and we will have bigger lot sizes to repair. Same skill set of people can be used. So, and that will lead to a better and growing industry. So today we do it for so many other countries, and our volumes have unfortunately declined. Why? Because due to COVID, maybe the government setups are not geared up, and so much of difficult things are there that it's difficult to cope between interministerial thing and so much of paperwork, and half of them are working from home. So we are actually lagging. So we have to seriously think of digitalization and self-declaration.
Time gap or the other bottlenecks which you like to...
we should be given waiver of SCOMAT, which some of my panelists have already echoed. Why? Because we are getting for overseas repairs, if we are getting something and we are sending it back, there should not be any this thing except that a self-declaration to be submitted to them, rather than waiting for the no objection certificates and so on for exporting. So That will help to save 6 weeks, and that brings more business from our other counterparts. So that is one which is required. At input, if the boards are to go back abroad, I think we should have a special chapter, or I met the custom commissioner in this regard. So some concessions they have given, that instead of having one lot coming and submitting one bond and one bank guarantee, now at least they have agreed to a passbook type of scheme where you give a single bank guarantee, and against that you can debit credit, so that reduces your administration time and working capital requirements and so on. And that bank guarantee should be also of the less value, so that you can import more volumes and can turn around quicker. And believe me, in India we can do it in 2 weeks, if 1 week for ourselves to the technology partners and 1 week for the government, 2 weeks, and then it can become a success story. Because even today, what we send abroad, because of our own legislations, it reaches us in 120 days. So 4 months it takes for the board to come back. And out of that 4 months, even 1.5 months will get eaten for the administration of in and out of the country. So we have to follow some role models from the developed nations and what they have done, and how quickly you can import in US or in Europe. We have to take a leaf out of their book and need to just copy paste and follow the same.
Thanks, Manoj. Very good perspectives. Now let me go to Dr. Ved Prakash Mishra. Dr. Ved Prakash Mishra is from Government Ministry of Environment.
Yes. Good evening to all of you.
Yes. Dr. Mishra, I had 1 or 2 things to ask you and take your help also. First was that, as just now Manoj was mentioning, that if we get 100 boards, 5 of them we are not able to repair, which is of course acceptable norms, that there will be 5 to 7%, which will be either beyond economic repair or technically not possible. Now these boards, despite being defective, we have to return it back all the way to the origin, which is we are returning a scrap board. So is there any help we can get from you so that we are able to salvage it in the country itself?
So I just wanted to reply his queries. He was making many allegations, in fact, against the regulatory mechanism. So I just want to clarify a few things to him. Actually, the Minister of Environment is, as the country moves towards rapid digital growth and development, it is equally important to pay attention towards our environment and human health. And our sole criteria, our sole purpose is to prevent our environment and human health. So we just want to prevent the e-waste. E-waste is from our perspective, it is a nuisance. So we just want to prevent that e-waste from foreign comes and it is dumped here. So in that process, there may be some problem to the industries. I agree that. But what he was saying that there should be some self-declaration or something like that. And it took at least 1 year to get clearance from environment, I think he was saying. So on this issue, I will say that we have declared the e-waste management rules 2016. In that, only the waste which you are importing from the other countries, for that you have to take import permission from an environment ministry, and it does not take 1 year, I think. And it is being streamlined, more streamlined, and in a few months we will make a mechanism that you will get the import permission within 1 or 2 months. And actually, it is not given by ministry. There is the expert working group. We are all scientists and experts from industry, from institutions, from education institutions. They only see which case to be allowed, which case not to be allowed to import. So it is not that it is up to my view, my whims and fancies that I will allow you, I will not allow, I will reject. It is not like that. And we have to make a middle path that our environment is protected and industry is also not harassed, as he was saying. And there were last year, 1920, 10 lakh tons of e-waste was generated in India. So we cannot afford that more waste is imported here unless it is reused. He was saying exported again. But for that, there should be some mechanism to see it whether it is actually for the purpose for which it is saying it is coming. And for example, if someone is importing it in India and it is not being reused, so that is a danger for us, our country and environment. The Ministry of Environment's whole focus is on the recycling. Better to repair than to replace. So we want recycling of e-waste to be more and more, so that two purposes are served. First, there is nothing is going on dump, nothing is going on landfills, and second, that there is less pressure on the fresh resources that we are using. So that is all our whole purpose. And for that query, for that his complaint that it takes too much time, that we are looking into, and within a few months the system will be streamlined. They have to apply online, they don't have to come to office, they will apply online and they get permission on mail, and it will not take more than 1 or 2 months, in next two. We will convene the meeting of expert working group every month in the first week, and all the applications which have been received before that will be taken into consideration, and decision will be taken, and within 3 or 4 days they will get the approval by mails.
Dr. Mishra, maybe thanks for this, and I'll ask one more question to you, the last question, and we'll like your perspective on that. That what measures can government of India take to improve the ability of the current recycling process of e-waste in India? And we have also a lot of scope of rare material extraction, which can be used for the purpose of secondary market. So what are any initiatives or any help the government of India can provide in this?
I can tell from the Minister of Environment perspective that we will try to facilitate as much as possible. Actually, the Environment Ministry is a type of regulatory ministry. So we will try to, we don't facilitate, but we regulate. So we will try that it is as much as we facilitate as much as there is no hindrance from outside. And from promoting, as you asked that what we can do for promoting, we have some funds, and we are thinking over some making some levy on some industries and cross subsidize it to people who are recycling the e-waste. Means we will try to cross subsidize people who are producing e-waste and who are recycling it. So it will benefit the recyclers, and we will incentivize them in some way. That is the best thing we want to do. And second, we want to make the approvals, etc. process the hassle free and no hindrance from outside. That is what I can assure.
Okay, thanks. It is a good reassurance, and we are almost coming end to the time and end to the panel discussions also. But before that, maybe a couple of more minutes to the industry captains, if I can go around the table and ask your only one wish list, and please be mindful of the time. So may I go same sequence? Maybe I can start. I can go to Galeen first. Yes, Galeen. Any wish list you like to spell here?
I think in order to if India have great potential for be as the global parts repair, if from a government point of view they can give enough support, I think it's good for India to be the global global repair hub.
Thanks. So very rightly put that if government support can help India industry. Thanks, Galeen. Let me move to Badri from our Logic one wish list. You are on mute, I guess.
Thank you. My wish list is only that charter. You know that I'm a part
yes,
of.
Very nice. Thanks.
My consortium. I'm representing a consortium based out of US. All of my customers are very eager to give business, but unless we have a smooth channel under this charter, that's my wish list.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Can I go to Nikhil Rao?
Yeah. From my side, I think it is the bonded warehouse. We have chosen as the location or the place where we can do our international repairs. An ease of doing business on that bonded warehouse in terms of paperwork, reduced paperwork. There's a lot of paperwork which is there right now, which is which actually affects in terms of time and money. I would say also in terms of the lead time for getting those approvals on bonded warehouse. That's the other thing which needs to be actually done. And overall, an ease of doing business out of a bonded warehouse. A self-governance mechanism is what I would actually speak about.
Thanks, Nikhil. Can I go over to Swambhu for one single wish list?
Yes, sir. So whatever we discussed, so by consolidating all this, there should be a policy framework which has to be published in our foreign trade policy, so that we can everyone, all the stakeholders, we can use that as the guidebook to get into this particular business.
Thanks, Swambhu. And Raghav, from your end?
Yeah, I think one of the key things, as we already discussed, is looking at a green channel facility option, specifically for the ERSO industry itself, and potentially looking at the removal of the custom duties, etc., for ease of new entrants into the industry.
Great. And finally, Manoj Kapoor.
I think co-panelists have already
okay. You always have that disadvantage, but you have so much experience and knowledge.
I think the only incentive, we don't need anything on the land buildings or other things. We need only minimal government intervention and inbound and outbound if we really want to become an export hub. And that should be the only incentive. And believe me, this industry can slowly compete with the software guys. Because you see the associated framework, even when we grow this industry, the tools which need for keeping the records of the repair data and the automatic intelligence which is required to retrieve the data will help us in designing very good systems, and the software industry will also grow by helping us in developing the right type of tools which can be exported to the other countries also, since we already have a very big software expertise. So that is one part which is niche, which we can give to the software industry for how to analyze the repair data and to solve many complex repair problems.
Thanks, Manoj. And I also will add, one of my wish list is somebody has to say Tathastu, which means wish granted. So I know it will take some time, so we'll do that. But it was a wonderful panel and very nice to discuss with all of you. My sincere thanks to all of you. And let me, before I close the event, let me mention that though this event of 1.5 hours is coming to an end, but the process has just begun. And we'll take it forward. All of us from the industry are very excited for this opportunity. We'd like to take it forward. There will be a lot of takeaway points, task force, and we'll also seek a lot of help. We have been getting help from government, and we'll seek collaboration and help and support from government. So thank you very much. And before I close, I will like to hand it over to Mr. Tabrez Ahmad. Tabrez Ahmad is the Group Director, Government Affairs of Dell. He is also Chair for MAIT Environment and Focus Group. Tabrez, to you for the closing comments. Thank you.
Thanks, Sudipto. It gives me great pleasure to offer vote of thanks to our speakers. Especially, I want to mention Sri Saurabh Gaurji. He has such a tremendous energy that he's the true champion of industry issues. He rightly said what this sector can really bring to the economy in terms of job and contribution, economic contribution, and also right to repair. Very rightly said, sir. We continue to look forward to your support on this. MAIT is determined to champion this cause. So we will continue to come to MITI and Ministry of Environment for one reason or the other, sir. I would also like to thank all the other speakers. There have been tremendous insight and good suggestion which has come out in terms of how we can really bring the turnaround time, how we can look at free trade zone versus domestic area, and not many. So lot is to be And Sudipto, you rightly said that this is the starting point from here. It's a journey. And India has tremendous strength in terms of manpower, in terms of cost arbitrage. So we should get our pie. India should definitely get a pie of $150 billion worth of this business. And to do that, as Srinivas and Sudipto, you have highlighted so many things on policy, the green channel, all those things which will help us in terms of also fiscal support and continue the skilling. Though we have large number of manpower, but we need to continue to skill our manpower in this space. So I look forward to contributing. And from MAIT point of view, I must assure Ministry that MAIT is committed on this. We would like to take it forward under the presidentship of our Nitin, and George is here, our CEO. Thanks a lot. Over to you.
Yes, we've come to the end of our session. So thank you all. Thank you, Shri Saurabh Gaurji, for joining, and your presence and your words are very, very encouraging. And keep safe. Have a nice weekend ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Puneet. Yeah, so we are off screen. You all can